for your patience. And just so you know, I'm not going to be able to see the chat, but I'm holding my phone here. So if you want to ask me a question, please do that on our site on Facebook. And then I will get the notification and then I will answer, because technology is easier this way. Anyway, guys, the reason why I wanted to do this web seminar, especially for you, is that I've been getting a lot of emails about the seminar this year and what we're going to bring this time and so on. It's a lot of curiosity, which makes me so happy, because last year was a huge success. The news spread all over, and actually just this week I've been traveling a lot. I've been in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. I've been in Oslo, in Norway. I've been talking to over 600 entrepreneurs, and yeah, the interest is just amazing. And we're, of course, Seychelles has also been in the topics as well. So why is this important? Why is it that right now everybody wants to join in and be part of this program? Well, the answer is quite simple. The fact is that we have seen a change actually since 2006, but it's silent and we don't see it that often. And what I'm going to do now for the coming 30 minutes is actually to talk a little bit about how the sales industry actually has changed so much in front of our eyes, but still we are doing the same old mistakes by how we are approaching the market. And just to make this clear, I always say what is working for me doesn't necessarily has to work for you. What I'm going to give you is 5 basic ingredients in how to create the perfect story for your brand, your business. Because this is the thing. People are not buying facts anymore. We are not buying the product like we did before. We are buying the feeling, the experience. And for you who joined in the last year, we were talking about the signature experience, which is actually a form of story selling. So we're going to take it from the signature experience that we were talking about last time, and we're going to connect this to story selling and social selling. Because that is the thing. When you're a new startup, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in sales, CEO, whatever, you have to understand that the market is buying the story first and then the fact later. So time is short. I know you guys have a lunch now in Seychelles. In Sweden, it's 2 hours behind. So I'm going to get right to it. Okay. First of all, the signature experience is all about the story selling. And what I have done here is that I've created a timeline that we're going to I'm going to walk you through, just to give you the background why story selling is the only thing you need to focus on right now. Because a lot of people in Seychelles is working with in the tourist industry, but also a lot of other industries. But again, since we are now overwhelmed with information, it's the feeling that you can create around your brand that is going to give you customers now and the customers that is coming back also, of course. But starting back to the 19th century, the beginning of the 19th century, it's actually like this. I'm going to give you a story actually why I always use this example. And I was sitting in a lunch. I had lunch with a company that I was helping with the sales. And just next to me, I had this gentleman, an elder gentleman. He was eavesdropping and he heard the conversation. And all of a sudden he turns to me and he said, "Excuse me, sir, are you in sales?" And I said, "Yes." And we were sitting at this time at an area here in Gothenburg, Sweden, where the Industrial Revolution actually took place. So it's a very famous area here in Gothenburg. So, and then he told me, you know what, my father was in sales in the beginning of the 19th century. And I was so fascinated. I said, well, tell me more. And he said, well, he was selling cotton back then. And I started to ask him a lot of questions because, of course, I got curious. I mean, the way they sold cotton back then, it was fascinating. So he told me this, that his father back then was the only salesman in a company who imported cotton to Sweden. And of course, back then it was just one player on the market. So what he actually had to do was to go to every company, big companies in Sweden, all over the country, and he actually handed out whatever he could hand out, because there was a limited supply, of course, of cotton as well. And what does this has to do with sales and the development of sales? Well, it has to do everything with it, because no matter what they thought about him, no matter if they liked him or not, they still had to buy from him. And this is the thing, he didn't have any competitors. And since everything was limited and the big demand was on the market, they just had to buy from him. We are talking about, usually when I say, what is sales? Everybody's saying, oh, it's relationships, it's trust, this and that. But think about it. Do you really think that no matter what I thought, if they didn't like him, would I buy anyway? Of course, if they needed it. They didn't have 10 others to choose from. And this is very interesting. So if you look at it from a bigger perspective, in the beginning of the 19th century, we could actually only focus on the product. We didn't need to create the feeling, the product was the key. Then, as time went by, we can actually go to the 1950s. And why 1950s? Yes, because we had a company which was bought from the McDonald's brothers, from a gentleman called Ray Kroc. And back then, if you look at prior McDonald's time, you could actually see a very interesting change. Because if I had a restaurant and I was selling hamburgers, the customer walks in and they said, hi, I want to have a French fries and a hamburger. I could have said, well, it will take, you can have a seat and it will take 20 to 30 minutes. And I would gladly accept that because that was normal. But what happened after McDonald's came into the picture and with the fast food industry taking, hitting the market? Of course, that would be like deadly to say. Try to say it now. Well, it would take 20 to 30 minutes. They would kick your ass. I mean, this is not normal anymore. And what happened? Of course, they took over the whole market. Now we can see things are turning back because now people want ecological food. But that's another story. But back then, if I was selling hamburgers with the old way of thinking, I was not very successful. So what did the market have to do? You had to adapt to the fast food industry and sell the way the market demanded how to sell it. Because the key to sell hamburgers after McDonald's was it should be quick, very quick. And that is why it's so interesting. I mean, just look at what happens, what actually happens. I mean, McDonald's today is the biggest landowner in the world after the Catholic Church. And think about it. It's quite amazing what they have done for the last 50 years. I'm not promoting McDonald's. I'm not eating there. But as a business model, it's a genius thing. Anyway, they were in the prime, and now things have changed. Before I come to today's market, I basically also want to say that in the mid-70s, there was a company which, it was actually a Swedish company, it's called Facit. And they were actually, in 1976, they were the biggest type machine manufacturer in the world. And this is quite interesting. It was also when IBM was formed and all these kind of software companies. But Fossis, they had the market. They were the leading, dominating force in the world when it came to type machines. Of course, they heard about the computer and this and that, but they didn't care because they were the biggest ones in the world. Well, the market is a brutal place. So 1978, what happened? They crashed. There were no more. Within 2 years, they went down. And today, the kids of this generation that is coming now, they haven't even heard about it. We have societies in Sweden built up around facet factories, but still people have not heard of it. So when we talk about adaptation and realizing how the market is moving, if you don't listen, you're finished. So, and this starting from the 70s, the technology era really took off. We could see the cell phones coming. We could see a lot of different behaviors on the market. And for us who had something to sell, we had to adapt and adapt and adapt and adapt. You could still have a marketing strategy and a sales strategy. Remember one thing. Sales without marketing is a very short-term plan. But marketing without sales is just a big list of wishful thinking. So two big areas which once upon a time were like this is now like this. And we have to realize that you need to master both basic market knowledge, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, but also you need to master sales. Sales has been for many, many years something bad, something, well, I don't want to sell this, I don't want to sell that. Well, this is bullshit. You need to start to sell. Because if you don't sell, you don't have a business. And we can call it whatever, consultant or whatever you want to call it. But in the end, if nobody is buying, you won't pay your bills. So we need to understand that sales is, no matter what you're doing, you need to know your sales. I used to say that everybody is selling. The doctor is selling, the lawyer, they are selling opinions. So everybody is in sales in one way or another. But anyway, everything was fine. I mean, even when the computer came into the picture and Alta Vista and Google and all this took off in the beginning of the 21st century, we could still see that you had to go to a computer to get access to the info. So we actually had to do something physically to get in contact with all the information. But all that changed. And this is my problem with the market today. This is what we are talking about. This is what entrepreneurs today needs to realize. 2006, Mr. Steve Jobs changed everything with this. And why? Because starting from 2006, information which was still limited to a computer was from that day on right in my face. We are walking like this every day now. People getting hit by cars because they have their face stuck in this. And this is quite interesting. I mean, look at it. We are stuck in the information 24/7. And guess what happened? We got numb to information. Information is no longer selling. Because why? Because we are overwhelmed with it. Sorry. And if I wasn't, if this was not true, how come Kim Kardashian has more followers in the world than Malala? What has Kim Kardashian done compared to her? We're not buying facts anymore. We're buying the experience. And I think you can see how we can connect it. And this is quite interesting, actually. So the way we have to understand is that starting from now, the only way to break through the noise is actually to come up with a great story. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of, if you take the car industry, for example, there is a lot of different, all these commercials which is going on right now, is actually based on a story. I mean, when was the last time you saw a car commercial where they were saying, well, this is an Audi, or this is a Volkswagen, or this is a Volvo, or this is a whatever. And they are built up like this, and they have this kind of fuel engine, blah, 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 all this kind of thing. They don't talk about that anymore. Why? Because it's boring. What they do is that they create like a movie. If you take Volvo for an example, you have seen the last years everything from Jean-Claude Van Damme making an epic split between two giant trucks, to Zlatan running in the mountains, taking a swim, running around with a football, and in the end you see a Volvo car somewhere. That's how you sell today. Why? Because they are creating a story. They're creating something that you can attach to, something you want to be part of. And this is actually the main reason why we as entrepreneurs, we need to think like that also. But what I can see in the startup community, usually, and especially among small business owners and people in sales in general, they are pushing their products down the throat of their target group, and this is wrong. This is not the way we should do it. I mean, who is interested? In Sweden, we have the perfect example actually. Why people are not buying facts anymore. This, my friends, is tap water. Sweden has the cleanest tap water in the world. But guess what? We are still buying bottled water in the stores, which is not even close as clean as the tap water, which is for free. But why do we do that? We do it because it's a great feeling. We do it because people feel like they are buying something exclusive, etc., etc. It was actually the way it started. But still, it's a huge industry. Coca-Cola has Bon Aqua, and we have all these different brands today. And all they do is that they bring out the big bottle, they label it with a mountain of ice from the North Pole or whatever. And then they say super water from some super well in some super country. And we are buying it. We're like sheep running around after a new thrill every day. Oh, I'm going to buy this water and I'm going to be twice as big. It doesn't work like that. So that is why we need to go back to how things started from the beginning. After 2006, we went back to how humans communicated 10,000 years ago. And I'm going to give you this scenario. 10,000 years ago, we were sitting in caves. We were sitting in caves and we were talking around the fire. And we were talking about this and that and so on and so on. But guess what? That was how we communicated for centuries. We have passed on stories. There was this guy 2,000 years ago who made a fantastic story. Perhaps it's true, but still. We have passed on stories since the ancient Greek to Shaka Zulu to whatever. But stories is the way to immortality. And if you look at it from a brand perspective, customer perspective, the experience, the signature experience that we were talking about last year in Seychelles, it's actually the same thing. Because people are not talking about, when they leave from a certain experience, they are not talking about numbers. They are not talking about, oh, I feel like 27% better because I am. No. They are talking about the excitement, the feeling that you created, and so on and so on. And that is the thing. You have to go back to the drawing board and think to yourself, what feeling do I create around my brand, around the experience that people have to me? And I'm actually talking about all the way, from the website to your emails, to your social media accounts, etc., etc. What is the feeling? What is the experience that your customers are experiencing when they get in touch with you and your brand? So I'm going to give you 5 ingredients. So I hope you have pen and paper, because I'm going to give you 5 ingredients so you can create your perfect story. All right? Bear with me. Since this is live, I have to do it like this. And then you have the third part, communication. Sorry guys, I will hurry up. And then, let's see, you can see it there, yes. And then we have red, yellow, blue, green. Okay, this is not in a particular order, but this is what we're going to do in August when we meet. When we meet in August, I'm going to give you the best tools that we have been able to create to be able to create a great story for you and your brand, and also how to apply this in social media. But first one is actually how to create a helicopter perspective for your target group and your customers. Why is this important? Well, today we don't like when people are bragging about themselves. We don't like when they are getting too pushy with their sales. But one thing which is critical for any business to take place from the beginning is actually you need to have trust. You need to create a certain amount of trust before you even can think about make a sale, you know. So the thing is that we always have this thin line between no trust at all until to mutual respect, and that's where you usually do the first deal. Then when you have a lot of trust from your customers, that's when you just call them up and you say, well, we're having this and this, I think you should have 20 of this one, and they say, okay, thank you, send them to me, click. That's a dream scenario that everybody wants to be part of. But this one is actually something that we usually don't think about. That's why, for an example, just a sidestep, but I always talk, I get involved with all this discussion, especially on LinkedIn today, where they are saying, well, cold calling is dead and this and that. And I always reply, you know what? Cold calling is dead only because you suck at it. Yeah, if you got offended, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. If you can't cold call today, it's because you haven't adapted to how you do it today, and that's why you only get no or people angry at you or whatever. You have to adapt in this case as well. So, but anyway, back to this. You have to create trust. And one way to do that, because this can take, just to be clear, to create trust, that could actually take 10 seconds or 10 years, depending on how you start your conversations. With a helicopter perspective on the market, you can actually engage with your customers and earn their trust very quickly. It's all about putting yourself in your customer's shoes, talking from a perspective where you know their market, you understand what they are doing. Let's see if I got a question. Yeah. And you understand your customers, you understand what they're doing, and also understand their challenges. And to understand their challenges, you need experience from their market. You see? For an example, I'm going to give you an example on this one. Me and my wife, my beautiful wife, we are talking about children, okay? And within a year or two, we're going to buy a house. And so if you're a broker, start listening. If this broker wants to sell me a house, he would actually need to start talking to me like, Michel, I know I've been having a lot of clients who's been in your shoes, and for them this and this and this was important. I'm gonna explain what I mean with this. For an example, no matter how perfect the house was, product, no matter how perfect the house is, if it takes me 2 hours to go to the store, if it takes me 3 hours to go to the daycare or school, you really think I would buy the house? No way. It wouldn't suit my life. So if this broker did his homework or her homework, they would need to understand this. They would need to know my life, my kind of challenges that we have as a new parents. Everything must be as smooth as possible in our daily life. So of course, these things has to be challenged first before I even consider a house. And that is a way to know your market. That is a way to actually know how your market works. So that is step number one. You need to understand your market from a helicopter perspective and respect everything within that, and then you can start to talk to your target group. The second one is third-party communication. And what I do with when we talk about third-party communication, it's actually a way of understanding that people don't like to be talked to directly like this. In fact, if I would have this conversation as we are doing it right now, as an interview, or you guys were just looking at or took part of a classroom, statistically, you would listen more than now when I'm talking directly to you. And the reason why is that we tend to like to be, if this is you and this is your customer, if we can get the people listening from this perspective, you will actually get a better and a much higher interaction with your audience. And this is something to think about. So for an example, when you look at the car commercials that I was talking about before, why do they use Zlatan? Why do they use these kind of people? Well, it's the same thing. You don't have a car salesman standing and talking about, oh, well, this car is built like this and it's like that and the engine power and this and that and so on. You don't have that because that is boring and that would be a direct communication, which is, we don't want that. So they put an actor up here who's just doing something, and we take part of this story from a whole different perspective. And then it's much more interesting. And think about it. When you are out talking to your market, doing your social media commercials or whatever, how does this work? You know I'm right in this one. And this is super, super powerful. I've done it so many times, and yeah, I mean, it's always a success. And the chances is much bigger that you get your audience to actually listen to you. So if you're in a startup, for an example, this is super important. Don't go shove your products down their throat. And if you're in the tourist industry, or if you're at the telecom industry, whatever you do, don't go out to your customers and shove your products down their throat, because that is the old way of doing it. You have to give them examples, something that they can feel is taking place already, so they can be part of it. So it's also a way to talk about your experience. Like, for an example, if you're in sales, it's a perfect, I mean, a lot of customers within the same area as you are usually buying from us because of this and that. Simple as that. You don't need to make it any harder. And it actually is. Okay, let's go on. This one, we actually talked about this at the seminar a little bit last year. And we were talking about colors and how to identify your prospects even better. And this is such a super powerful tool that we actually could have a 2-day seminar only about this. But the thing is that when you create your story and you know your target groups, it's super important that if you have done your homework here, your story will have a huge, much bigger impact than if you don't do it. Because actually what we could have done is that we could say English, French, German, and Swahili, Chinese, whatever, okay? No matter how good I'm articulating myself in English to a French guy, it doesn't matter, they wouldn't understand because it's a complete different language. And trust me, if you're talking to a CEO or you're talking to a lawyer or an engineer, they are having different languages, different ways of connecting to a decision. They are all three, let's say like this, when they are in front of a critical decision, a business decision, they base their decision on different things. Facts versus feelings. And this is very important to understand. If you're talking to what we call a red person, and you're basing everything you're talking about is facts and this and that, you're gonna find out really soon, really quickly, that this CEO is getting super bored. And from my own experience, that's why I always use the example, of course. I want to know how much does it cost and what does it do for me? Give me the why immediately. I don't want to hear all the details. I assume that it already is working. But if you go to an engineer, it's the complete opposite, because their why is based on the facts. So when you create your story towards your target group, you need to understand that if you don't identify who you are talking to, you can just throw your things out of the window because they won't hear you, they won't listen. It's just a big waste of time. So super important to understand. Now, once you have your story and once you're out there on a business meeting, we have to be time efficient. And this is also one thing that we were talking about a little bit at the seminar last year, which we're going to talk about even more this time, because time is money. I don't care if you're employed, self-employed, business owner, or an investor. Time is money, no matter where you're standing right now. And I do not like when people are working 24/7. In a startup, you have to do that, so of course. But it's all about efficiency and what you get from every hour that actually counts. And I know we talked about that a little bit more too. But one way to make your business meetings more efficient is to know how to ask questions. And I'm not going to go into that right now, since we have to draw and we have to do all this. But at the seminar now on the 5th and 6th of August, I will give you the tools so you can basically within 1 hour get any message through, and also a bigger understanding when you interact with on a business meeting. Because with the right questions, you always get the answer you want to. So it's super important that you know how to do this, because it's just logic. So it's super nice. Actually, by doing this, I'm going to give you a fresh example on what happened to me at the business meeting just recently by applying all this. Okay, so I will get back to that. And the 5th one is, of course, trust. I mean, if we don't build trust, you don't have anything. So if this were to be a pipeline, first, find out who you are talking about, who your target group is, sorry. Make sure to build a story that this target group can trust immediately. Now, give them experience, give them your knowledge, make sure that they really understand, that they engage, that they're learning, they're getting inspired with all these other three ingredients. And I promise you, you can watch your business grow day by day. I'm saying again, I promise you, do this and you can watch your business grow day by day. Now, here comes the beauty of it. One of the biggest topics out there now is social selling. Everybody's talking about social selling. Oh, it's the new thing. We're not selling like in cold calls anymore and everything is automatic and this and that and so on. Usually the guys who are talking like that, they don't know sales. They just pretend they know, but they don't really know because they haven't done it. They just pretend that they did it. But anyway, that's a completely different story. But social selling is actually about this. Because if you apply your story and you work strategically in LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Snapchat or Periscope or Instagram or whatever, and you apply your story, you get your target group to have a chance to join in. That's social selling, my friend. Of course, it's more to it, but basically that's what happens. And that's the challenge of today. Because if we go back to the timeline, just to make one thing clear, if we go back to the timeline, before 2006, and this guy came into the picture, before that happened, there was an old truth that if you were on TV, that was it. That was the path to success. And everybody was happy. But today it's not even true. Because there is hundreds of thousands TV channels, and nobody's watching TV anymore. It has been wiped out from the competition with YouTube, with Netflix, and all these channels where I can watch whatever I want to without commercials. You see, we are tired of commercials. But the beauty of social media is that it's for free. So if you're a startup, if you're an entrepreneur, make sure to master your social media. Because if you don't master your social media, you're actually handicapping yourself from the beginning. And that is so, it hurts every time I see this. But build up your story and make sure that you get all these ingredients in there. And I promise you, people will start to engage. People will automatically be attracted to your business. In August, the 5th and 6th of August, I promise you guys one thing. I will bring, first of all, the team of Seychelles, Mr. Christopher Lespoir, a super entrepreneur, is like a brother to me. And if you talk to him, he will definitely give you a big why as well. But he will be there, and I will be there as keynote speaker. We will do this to the best seminar we have seen in Seychelles so far. I promise you this. But also, I'm bringing one of Europe's top speakers, keynote speakers, when it comes to sales and working with goals and this and that. He's been in 48 different countries, and I'm bringing him to Seychelles special only for you guys. Because this is something I will do every year. I will make sure that we bring the best in the world, and then we start to export you guys. Because we as Seychelles, we have something to tell the world. I always said it, we're going to be the leading country in the region, and it starts now. It starts with a silent revolution that we are not born to participate in Seychelles. We're not born to be part of something. We're born to take over. And this is my mantra. This is what every day I tell myself. And this is what we're going to do together. As you have seen on Facebook, we have 3 choices, 3 options for you guys. Make sure to choose one of them. One of them is also that you will have a coaching one-by-one with me. And I would be so thrilled to work with some of you guys in Seychelles to help you take the next step and take your business to the next level. Again, we're a community, we're growing rapidly, and there is so much super nice things happening right now. As I said, the 5th and 6th, I just want to wrap it up. Seminar, workshop, we're going to guest speaker, case studying together with groups. We're going to look into your business, and we're going to at the seminar, we're going to do this together, and we're going to make sure that you walk away with something super, super nice. And we're going to network, of course. I mean, I have a lot of business contacts. All of you have business contacts. Together, we will make sure that we leave a better person. Contact Christopher Lespard. Contact him. Knock on his door and say, listen, I can't wait anymore. Where's my tickets? Make him start to work. And I can't wait to meet all of you there again. Since last year, things has been super exciting. We have done so much. The company is growing. The network is multiplying like crazy. And please write to me. If you have any questions, just write to me. And I will do my very, very best to answer them as well. But I will see you in August in Seychelles, and we're going to have the best time ever. Take care, guys. Love you all, and I'll see you soon.